Hello there, and welcome to the Stay Off My Lawn podcast, where we'll have a little fun, lots of laughs, and discussions on the common sense that needs to be applied to a lot of today's world news issues. And now, the disclaimer. Stay Off My Lawn is not intended as legal, medical, or financial advice. Void where prohibited. No purchase necessary to win. Open to legal U.S. residents 18 or over in the contiguous 48 states. Any resemblance to anyone living or deceased is purely coincidental. Actual price may vary. Only use as directed. Not a member of FDIC. And now, here are your hosts, Mike and Richard.
The show Stay on the Road once in there. Anyway, welcome to this week's episode of Stay Off My Lawn. It's January 20-something. It's January 28th, 2025, and this is episode 102. And the caffeine has kicked in, so here we go.
Oh, joy. It's another lovely Tuesday morning, and we're so happy to see you. Why, my little mirror says there's Billy, and there's Susie, and
oh, my gosh.
And Freddie. Oh, he's there, too.
I knew that was a crock of crap when I was a kid. It's just so stupid.
I don't know where that came from.
I don't
this
either.
morning. Don't ask me. I haven't got a clue.
What was that woman's name that did that? What was that called?
Julie, wasn't it, Miss Julie? There was a few different people that did it, but that seems to be one I remember. But
holding up that mirror.
Never called my name. I was very upset about it.
Even when I was 6, I was like going, this lady's full of crap. Anyway, not only do we have news stories as usual this week, we have our special guest. She's in the green room right now. It is Kendra Rains. She is our personal friend and a friend of the show. She's been very, very good to us. She just wrote a book. It's called Becoming Unstoned. I think you're gonna find her story and how she pulled herself out of a little bit of a funk that she was in. Very inspirational. Plus, she talks about her being a radio presenter and her specific lane that she's in for that. It's not what it used to be when we were kids. It's a different animal anymore. Radio is. So there is that.
And I believe she said she's been in radio almost 25 years, something like that.
Yes, she's an award.
So she started when she was 10?
That's what I was thinking, yeah. She does look a lot younger than us. She is a lot younger than us, but she's 53. She looks great. She's got that whole Pam Bondi thing going on where it's like, there's no way you're that old. But anyway, but Steve's with her in the green room.
I think it's that she's happy in life, and it really shows. Yeah. If you're, going through life and you're miserable all the time and all you want to do is complain about things, you see that in people's faces. You get that, stay off my lawn.
Get the wrinkles up by your eyes when that happens. Yes. Yeah. We've talked to her quite a bit, and she just sings the praises of her husband so much, and he's obviously such a good guy, and I'm sure that plays a role in everybody. When you're married to somebody that you still like, which is my situation, and obviously Richard's. I mean, it makes a
she would just
difference.
like back would be nice, but I still like her.
I still get hugs once in a while, so I'm happy with that. So. Whether it's obligatory or not, I don't know.
Yeah, well, I have a hobby of irritating her. That might be the reason she doesn't. Everybody needs a hobby, right?
Yeah,
I mean, come on.
Everybody needs hobbies. But yeah, so we'll talk about her career and her new book, and you're gonna love that. Steve's with her in the green room right now. I don't think Steve's been drinking this morning.
So. Yes, no. Go back where you make sure that she's got what she needs. Good heavens.
Get her something to drink, for goodness sake, Steve. You got to get off our case here. So this semi-autobiographical book is you're going to love this story, and it is available everywhere you buy books. So, but once again, we will start off the show with our new segment called...
It's time for Stupid Holidays of the Week.
And so we have that. Today, being the 28th of January, is National Lego Day. So if you're walking down the hall and you've got little ones, they will be the things that are sticking in the bottom of your foot and making you say all kinds of words that you shouldn't say.
Yes, Legos. Real quick.
Yeah.
This is one of my favorite stories. People look at me like I got three eyes when I tell it, but I've been a Lego user since I was a little kid when they first came out.
Yeah.
When they first came out, they were trying to promote themselves and what kind of deal they were. My grandmother made a lot of grilled cheese for Grandpa and her, and so she would buy the Velveeta in the big 2-pound blocks. Well, when you took the lid off on the inside, if you saved so many of them, she would save them up and then she would send them off. And that's how she got Legos. You would get a little bag of Legos.
Yeah.
And so they weren't kits. They weren't here, build the Millennium Falcon.
No, you got a box.
Just anyway,
of
you got
Legos.
a box with a bunch of little blocks, and we just would build all kinds of things with them.
Sure.
So that was, my grandmother got me started on Legos. It was fun to go to grandma's and start playing with those Legos. We didn't have them at home.
Yeah.
We had to go to grandma's where she would send off the Velveeta box tops and get so many Legos ever so often. So the pile would get a little bigger. But
it was the upgrade from
that's
Lincoln.
how I started with Legos.
Yeah,
that's one of my favorite stories.
It was the newer version of Lincoln Logs, which Lincoln Logs were great, but you couldn't. But with these, you had different sizes, and you could build. And you, like you said, you didn't get them in a kit where it showed you what you were supposed to build. You just said, "Here, have at it." It's
you got a bag of Legos. She would put them in a plastic bag of some sort or whatever, and that's where they were stored.
Yep.
And we just had a blast with them.
It's like Army Men, same kind of thing. You had a bag of Army Men and a big C-130, and it's like Chris
and
an
little, imagination, and off you go.
When Chris was little, we used to play that a lot. So, oh my gosh! Yesterday was National Bubble Wrap Appreciation Day, and you've got a reference from
Boppity bop 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 bop. Oh.
A Frasier reference for your Tuesday.
Martin loved to poppity bop bop bop. It's so relaxing to just poppity pop pop pop. And Frasier about ready to kill him after about the third time of poppity pop pop popping.
It's good for your mental health. I mean, even the big ones you get from Amazon, the ones that are like a little pillow about the size of your hand, it's like pow. Those are great. I love those. Well, anyway, Friday is going to be National Hot Chocolate Day, which is appropriate for the cold. And Saturday, February 1st, is National Get Up Day. And I thought, well, maybe I didn't know what that was. I had some ideas and I was completely wrong, but it's a day to share inspiring stories of perseverance, a day that reminds us to pick ourselves up when we've fallen and giving it another go. And it's a very appropriate day for us to have Kendra on the show. And we'll explain why that's awesome too. So anyway, let's see. Do you have to be a good speller to be a mayor? Even a mayor of a mayor of Philadelphia. This is how the mayor of Philadelphia is supporting her Philadelphia Eagles, and it obviously worked because they're going to the Super Bowl. But here you go. ELGLES Eagles. I didn't memorize the words, the letters she put out there, but that was not spelling Eagles.
I don't know what is or was, but I've never been an Eagles supporter. I won't be totally disappointed if they do win, because I would really like to see Saquon Barkley get a ring. He deserves one. He's
been just stellar,
working away at stuff. And then the offensive coordinator is from good old Boise State.
Oh, well, there you go. There you go.
His record at Boise State was 53-3, I think it was.
Oh, wow.
He only lost 3 games in 4 years.
Well, I don't know how many games he's lost this year. He's only lost 2, right? Isn't it?
2, I think. Yeah. Kellen Moore. He does just a really good guy. Just genuine. He's just a genuine person. So
fantastic.
I won't be horrible disappointed if they win, but I'm not a big Philly fan.
If you've seen some of these video clips of how the refs treat the Kansas City Chiefs, it's sort of like, man, they are just. It's really weird how they give them every benefit of the doubt. We'll just leave it there, I guess. But
he waved a finger and said naughty words to him, roughing the passer. His emotions are just a wreck. It's just horrible. Anyway, some of that kind of stuff?
Yeah. Some of the clips that people have put together and put their own announcer voices over them. Oh my gosh, you're killing me. Make my stomach hurt laugh so hard. But anyway, the mayor of Philadelphia, she apparently has, and being a lefty Trump hater, I don't care, but she actually, to be fair, she did laugh at herself later on, saying that she never promised perfection. So I got to give her credit. She obviously is a decent enough person to laugh at herself, which, Richard and I do every week.
She never promised, and she lived up to it.
She certainly did. Well, in Trump's first 4 days in office, office, of the estimated 350,000 children that were trafficked across the border in the last 4 years, there's been 80,000 found by our new Department of Homeland Security. Harris Faulkner was talking about this the other day. Here she is.
This will focus on those missing children, hundreds of thousands of them that we know. And that number has started to already come down, Emily, from 300,000. So they've found about 75 to 80,000 of those kids already. If they can get the list of these guys, 4 full days in office for Trump, if they can get the list of where some of those kids have been, and they've been identifying it, since the election, going after them and trying to find those little ones, what in the world was Biden's administration doing? What was Secretary of Homeland Mayorkas doing when he said to the committees on Capitol Hill, we don't know where those kids are, I'll look into it? No, dude, you obviously had a better way to find them, and you didn't do your job.
Now, I can't say I agree with Harris Faulkner on everything, but she's been right on with this whole immigration thing. She's been fantastic.
Yeah, that's in 4 days they found a fourth of these kids that have been. I don't know. They're missing. We don't know where they're just.
I'll look into it.
Really? Yeah, I'll look into it. I'll get back to you with an email. No, he never does.
I think did Mayorkas get a pardon? Did he?
Yep.
Yeah. So that's the whole problem there.
Because he didn't.
Well, we got to figure out. She dropped the ball in the whole January 6th thing. That's a totally other story. But yeah, maybe there might be some charges for her too. So I mean, charges for everybody. It's under your chair. Everybody, you get a charge, and you get a charge. Anyway, encounters at the border have tanked, going from a high of 12 to 14,000 a day back during the Biden regime to an average of 824 a day in the last 8 days that Trump has been in office. I think that's quite a significant drop off. That's less than 1% of what it used to be. It's fantastic. So, I mean, there's that. And you can't tell me that.
Oh, we just can't fix it. I don't know what we can do to make this better down there. And how about try to be a president? Jiminy Christmas. That's not being a leader. I can tell you that.
No, but I think that it's obviously his rhetoric has been working. I mean, because he's going after people. How many people are being deported a day now? It's like
the last high I saw was just right at 1,000.
Okay, that's what I was thinking. It was about 1,000. So, but there are some people that are not so happy with all that. Selena Gomez had. What is it about having a camera set up and having a nervous breakdown in front of the camera and crying hysterically?
I just don't know. I mean, it's just the thing. It's the whole thing. And I'm so emotional.
What is it? And a lot.
Did I break down?
I'm not a Selena Gomez music. I don't know any of her music, but we watched this show called Only Murders in the Building. It's Steve Martin and Martin Short and her, and and they have great chemistry. They work well together. It's funny. It's interesting, and we love it. I love all three of those actors. It's a combination that I would not have thought of, but it really works well, and I like her in that show. But she's a little bit on the cuckoo for Cocoa Puff side, right? I mean,
oh, yeah. They tried to give her, she had a show for a very short period of time on the Food Network. Oh my God. It was like watching grass grow. Just arrogance and just stuffiness and just the real her without lines.
Oy vey. Yeah.
No, it doesn't go well.
Yeah. Well, anyway, here's her having that nervous breakdown.
I just want to say that I'm so sorry. How many people are getting attacked? The children. I don't understand. I'm so sorry. I wish I could do something, but I can't. I don't know what to do. I'll try everything, I promise.
Now, when she says my people being attacked, does that mean people from Texas? I mean, she's from Texas.
I don't get it either. Now, I will tell you, I had one of my daughters would try to come and they would have a problem. I'm going, when you can talk normal and and I can understand what you're saying, then you can come back and tell me about it. I'm happy to listen. I haven't got a clue, and I'm not listening to you while you're blubbering that way. So I would have probably sent her off for a bit.
I say I didn't have a daughter, so I'm this is still foreign to me. And the granddaughters aren't of that age where they will they don't cry over anything yet much. So I don't
they
know.
will.
Yeah, I know it's coming.
Now my oldest one never did, hardly ever. The third one, we knew it was springtime. We had a slanted driveway, and it would be like, "Yay, the weather's good! Outside she'd go."
Oh no!
Pile down rocks in her knees and her hands. Okay, it's spring. It's officially spring. And she'd come in. Oh, I'm going, stop. When you can talk to me normal,
Yep.
I'll listen to what you're saying. I can't tell between the, where did you get hurt? Over there. Where on your body? You didn't ask, right? You didn't get the right answer.
It was the driveway, Daddy. Lay on the couch. Let me go get the tweezers, and I'll pull the rocks out of you, and it's going to be okay.
That was my job, and I'd try to make her laugh, and then I would threaten her with, "Are you broke? Like, you know what happens? What do we do with stuff that's broke? We just have to throw you away and make another one." I said that to her one time, and she goes, "Nuh-uh." "What do you mean, nuh-uh?" She goes, "Look at my big thing. Look at the other thing." She goes, "Nuh-uh." Just go away, will you? I hate a 5-year-old that goes, "No."
That's perfect.
Yeah, she was about 5 at the time.
Beautiful. Beautiful.
Look me right in the eye and say, "No, you can't."
Well, poor Selena. I mean, she's having a hard time. Supposedly, she has some bipolar issues since she has deleted this because she got a lot of pushback over being.
Oh, it's not deleted though. It is everywhere.
But and part of that is maybe virtue signaling. Part of it is just not being balanced. I don't know what the story is, but. Oh, yeah. It's just, anyway, Tom Homan, the new border czar, was asked about this whole thing by Shannon Bream, and his response was probably exactly what you'd expect. Here he is.
I don't know if you've had a chance to see a video that has been going viral over the past hour or so. We're still working to clear it and show it. In fact, the Hollywood celebrity who posted it has now deleted it, I think because probably she faced a lot of backlash for it, noting even the New York Times and Fox News polls show that a majority of American respondents are in favor of deportations of criminals and gang members. She posted a video sobbing. She was crying in it. She said, "All my people are getting attacked," with the picture of a Mexican flag. Again, she has now taken that down. But what do you say to those who are out there saying that these are everyday people, these are families that are being attacked and dragged out of their homes? How do you respond to that?
I don't think we arrested any families. We've arrested public safety threats and national security threats, bottom line. And look, President Trump won the election on this one issue, securing our border and saving lives. What happened on our southern border last 4 is the biggest national security threat this country's seen, at least in my lifetime, because we got over 2 million known gotaways. We got a 600% increase in sex trafficking. We got a record number of terrorists crossing the border on the terrorist watch list. We have 250,000 Americans die from fentanyl coming across the open border. We're going to do this job, and we're going to enforce the laws of this country. If they don't like it, then go to Congress and change the law. We're going to do this operational apology. We're going to make our community safer. We're going to save. Once we lock that border on continuous operation, you're going to see fentanyl deaths decrease, illegal alien crime decrease, sex trafficking decrease. It's just all for the good of this nation, and we're going to keep going. No apologies. We're moving forward.
And, disregard the mush mouth, which I can't stand. But I mean, he is so right on. I mean, it's exactly what we voted for.
Yeah, that's what a border czar is supposed to be like. Not, well, I was at the border. No, you weren't. You went to Texas and you could see the border from where you were at. That's as close as you got.
It wasn't even one of the big border crossings.
Way over there on that hillside. That's a border.
Didn't she go to El Paso and not Eagle Pass?
Yes, I don't even think she saw the border because she was in El Paso in some big hotel making a speech. I went to the border. No, you didn't. Not really.
You might have seen it from the plane before you landed, but that was about it.
There you go. That was about as close as she got.
Anyway, we are up against a break. When we come back, we're going to talk to our good friend Kendra Rains. I see her coming out of the green room now, and we will have her with you, and you're going to love what she's got to talk about with her book.
Yes, go get her, bring her in the studio. Good
I already see her. She heard us talking, so she's on her way. So hang in there. We will be right back.
This is the Stay Off My Lawn show and podcast. The grumpy old men you know and love. We'll be right back.
Americans for the Arts is shining a light on how creative expression and opportunities can shape communities and foster leadership and confidence. And it is our mission to gather support and resources for those individuals waiting behind the curtain for their chance to shine. Find out how your business can play a part at americansforthearts.org.
Welcome back to Stay Off My Lawn, segment 2. And we have a very special guest, as promised. We have our friend of the show, friend of us personally, Kendra Rains. We have method to our madness by talking to her about stuff. Let's start out with what you do for a living. We've talked before on this show. We've had you on before. But remind people what you do for a living. I think this is fascinating.
Sure. And thanks, guys, for having me on. I really appreciate it. Sure. I love hanging out with you. It's so much fun. So what I do for a living, actually, this year is my 25th anniversary of being an on-air radio personality. And I got started in 2000 running the board on Sunday mornings, playing the preachers, playing gospel albums, and reading the news live. Ooh. And it was, I opened that mic for the first time and I was hooked. I moved on to mornings. I've done pretty much everything in radio from managing a bunch of stations, but being on air is my absolute favorite. I love to just speak to people every single day. I'm actually, I have 4 midday shows. So I'm in North Carolina, Illinois, Missouri, and Arkansas. And then ranging from new country, classic country to hot AC. And so my show is on several different formats. And then I do a syndicated weekend show for local radio networks on country stations that's it's just all over the United States. And so I do a syndicated weekend show. And they recently had a 24/7 holiday channel that ran from November through December, and I did a syndicated weekend show for their holiday channel. And so that was a lot of fun. I got to play Christmas music full time, and I absolutely loved it. But I do all of this from my home studio. It's called voice tracking, and we've talked about that a little bit. Most people don't know that a lot of times their favorite radio personality is not actually sitting in that studio anymore. The days of WKRP, that's just not, it's just not what it is anymore. Just, cost cutting and things. And so I am able to do my shows every day from my studio. And I actually prefer that. I have worked live in a studio, and as opposed to that, I actually prefer this. I still get to interact with listeners on social media or email or something like that. So I'm not taking phone calls, but a lot of folks aren't calling the radio station anymore. Times have really changed. And so I love it, and I have ADHD, and so the thought of just being able to sit down and do a 5-hour show in an hour, it really scratches an itch for me and makes me super happy to be able to do that. And I really put a lot into my shows every single day in the form of show prep and just making sure that it's entertaining. And the best compliment I've ever gotten over the years was, "Oh man, whenever you come on is when we turn it up." And, or I'll say to my spouse, "Hey, be quiet, Kendra's talking." And I'm just like, "Yes, I have arrived." And so, I love that they want to hear what I have to say, and, turn it down when the music's on. And, I do tell people all the time, it's very personality driven. My show is very personality driven, and it is authentically me. Whenever, whatever format you're listening to me on, you're getting me. And I love being able to just get on there and make people laugh or giggle or go, "I can't believe she said that." Richard, you probably would. That's the way you would do a radio show, I'm sure.
Yeah, that's kind of what you were talking about, being authentic. And that's what Mike and I do with our podcast. The way we do stuff, we just have bullet points. Here's the subject. And I've had people ask, "Well, how long does it take to write all that?" We don't write anything. Are you kidding me? We both send stuff back and forth to each other, and we know what's going on, and make fun of stuff, laugh at things, laugh at ourselves. He messed up on our promo today, and I went, he's the next one up. I'm not saying anything. I'm just going to wait and see how long it takes him to figure out, oh, that's my line.
All our subjects we lay out, and it's like when we do our promo anyway, that's probably the most scripted thing we have. We have all the bullet points, and he does one, I do one, he does one, and then I lost track that he did one. I'm sitting there waiting for him to go, and it's like, oh, it's me. So it's like, but we left all that in.
I didn't help him at all. I threw it right under the bus and watched to see what happened.
I saw that.
Yeah, I don't write out any of my stuff. Nothing's scripted. I'll write I've created like a show prep sheet that looks like this, and I'll write down just a little, enough just for me to know what I'm going to talk about. And I've already read the story and I'm familiar with it. And then I just want it to be off the cuff. I don't want to overthink it too much because I want it to be like I'm just having a conversation with my listener. And so, when they're listening, it's like I'm just talking with them about this thing I just read, and that kind of thing. And so that's just the way I've looked at radio for the entire time I've been on. I've won 2 Small Market Personality of the Year awards with my shows and, tons of awards. And I actually got nominated to be in the Country Music Hall of Fame this year.
Way.
I haven't shared that with anybody. Wow. I don't know that I'm going to make it. I won't find out yet. And so I don't know if I'm going to make it, but I'm just so honored to be nominated. And so honestly, I've just been so thrilled just about getting that nomination. And so it was really cool. And I do have 25 years in. So
are you going to travel to the Grand Ole Opry?
When you were 10, right?
Oh, when she was 10.
Yeah, nice. She started when she was 10. That had to be.
Yes, I did.
Sure. So did they invite you to the Grand Ole Opry during this whole thing?
It wasn't that. It's more for a country radio seminar. It's their Hall of Fame. And so they'll announce it next month, but I will know before then. But if I don't get in it, it's fine, but I'm still really proud.
But
that's awesome.
You're kind of this old school, and I mean this in the best possible way, but I mean, when I was growing up, I mean, the whole thing about radio, and I loved radio from the time I was probably 4 years old. I listened to radio religiously every day. And it's because the personalities were so great. This is when I was 6 years old or 5 years old. This is 1969, 1970. So the personalities back then, even though they had this whole pukey voice, they still had, they grabbed your attention. They said things that might go, wonder what he meant by that. And it's like, it was something that you couldn't wait till the end of the song. If it was a bad song, something from Neil Sedaka, I waited for that to end and for somebody to come on there and tell me something I didn't know. And it was just, I think you handle that perfectly. Is like, this is who Kendra is. And this is Kendra talking to you. It's an intimate thing. And I think that, to me, that's what radio is all about, or what it should be all about anymore. Yeah,
I think a lot of personalities nowadays, they miss that. I'm thankful that the stations that I work for really give me free reign. I mean, they're not air checking me every day. They go, hey, we hired you to be Kendra. And so that's what we want you to do is get on there and be you. Do the thing that we heard in your air check and be you. And I'm just like, thank you. And so, I cannot even tell you the last time that one of them said to me, oh, hey, you probably shouldn't have said that or anything like that, because I pretty much, I school my own self on whether, do I think that might be pushing it or whatever. And I know if for 1 second, if I record something and I get a little tick, hey, that may have been whatever, I'll do it. I'll scrap it. If I get one little tick that might be something that was too far, I'll scrap it and I'll just do something else, because I never, ever want to offend someone. The whole point of my show is to make someone forget about whatever is going on. And there's so much to choose from that's going on in the world. I want them to not worry about, the weather or whatever. I want to give them stupid news that, like you said, just what are they going to say? What is she going to talk about? And so I have a lot of fun with it every day. I really do feel this is kind of cliche to say, but I really do feel blessed. I feel so blessed to be able to do this every single day, and especially for 25 years. That's incredible. I'm in my 50s, and there is a time clock on this career, and so I'm just like, hanging in here as long as they'll let me.
But your vocal cords still sound like they're pristine. So I think you might have another 20 years in you. You should be just fine.
Oh my goodness. I don't even know if I want to do it for 20 more years, but you do what you got to do. And so if this is how I get to make my living, then I definitely, I tell people all the time, I get paid to talk. Yeah. I get paid to talk, and so
I haven't done a radio show in a couple of years, but it's like I had a friend of mine that has a couple of online stations where him and I got talking back and forth, and he said something about doing a radio show over Christmas because he wanted to give his regular jocks some time off or whatever. So I was like, well, I can record something of music, Christmas songs that people didn't know, Christmas songs that were done by people you wouldn't think would do Christmas songs, like Billy Idol and people like that. I was like, who would have ever thought Christmas songs from Billy Idol? You got to be kidding me. So I told him, I said, that could happen. And he had a bunch of music he sent to me. And I sat here and it's almost 2 hours of me just kind of going through, talking about the original songs, talking about, what year that was and how that changed the world and how there's so many different versions of a particular song. And this was, the Heart actually had a Christmas album. And it's like, who knew? But it was the same thing as you. It's like, it was an intimate thing. I felt like I was talking to the person. It conjured up a lot of juices I hadn't thought about that, how much I love doing that. I wish I had more time. I would love to do a regular show like that. Whether I'm good enough or not, I have no idea, but I think it would be, it was really kind of a hit on those channels that featured me over Christmas, and it was fun to do, but time is just so hard. I mean, if they were going to pay me, it'd be another thing. So
very cool that you got to do that. Yeah. And you know what? I did know that those people had Christmas albums because of that holiday channel. And that's the only reason, because I would be like, oh my goodness, I know the Eurythmics had Christmas songs.
Exactly. Leonard Skinner.
And there were so many on there that I was like, I had no idea. You get slammed with just the same old Christmas music. If you just have a station that's just trickling in Christmas music, they're just picking the most popular. And this was all Christmas all the time, 24/7, and so it was a lot of fun. But I bet that was fun for you to do that.
And for me personally, if Perry Como or the Rat Pack, or if they didn't do the Christmas song, or Andy Williams or whatever, I'm just not that interested. I'm not a Mariah Carey fan. I don't care about anything that was written or that was recorded past 1964, probably. But a lot of these are so interesting because it's like, I just can't believe that's them doing this. So that piqued my interest. So I thought, it was a lot of fun. I admire you for what you do. I think it's fantastic that you've carved this path, and I just love that. I love that about you. So.
Well, really, this path got carved because I wanted to be able to work with my husband. Like I've talked to you about how happily married I am. And, we've been married almost 15 years, and he's just my best friend, and we love to be around each other all the time. And so this enabled me to work from home and him to work from home. And so we love to just, at any second I can go wherever he's at and just be like, hi. How are you? I just wanted to make sure you're having a good day, where we get to have lunch together every day and stuff like that. And so I do feel, really lucky that I've been able to make a living doing this from my home, and most of the time in my pajamas.
See, that's the beauty of it right there. I mean,
that's the biggest plus.
I think a lot of these CNN reporters over COVID, I think a lot of times they were like in the underwear with the jackets and the ties and everything. But
yeah, for sure, in their boxers. Yeah.
But on Tuesdays, we're busy doing the podcast in the morning, so it's like we just finished recording last week's show, and so I went out, and Barbara and I sat there, talked about what the cat was doing, because the cat, well, we got an older cat. She's been having mistakes all over the carpet, but we sat there and chatted about that, and it was nice to be able to kind of walk out and talk. And I'm like you. I'm very blessed to have a spouse that I still enjoy being around, and we enjoy each other's company. And that's such a blessing. I mean, for years I had to go work at a factory from 11 to 7. So it was different. Yeah.
Yeah, I was gone all the time. My days were generally somewhere. We used to joke that we only worked half days, 5 to 5. Of a sorts or whatever, 5 days a week, be gone. And now being retired or at home together all the time, she goes, don't you have something to do in your box? That's what she calls the studio. So, I'll come in here and do stuff. I'm feeling a little left out. You guys are doing so much with the radio. And I just thought, wait a minute, I do stuff. I have a passion for old time radio shows. So I've been in now 5 of them, and 3 of them I've directed and had Mike in one of them. So this year we did A Christmas Carol. I finally found a radio script from 1938. So I'm one who lives way back in the past.
I loved that. I watched it. Yeah, that was great.
Oh, did you?
I'm on one. I did Revenge of the Worms or something like that. Do you remember that one?
No, I don't remember that at all.
Oh my gosh, I had to scream. Like that one was really cool. It was my very first one, kind of my big first voice acting gig. And I mean, I didn't get paid for it. It was just something I did for free. Someone off of my voice share. But it was so much fun. I was really hooked from that. And it was it was really fun. Like these huge worms were coming up and attacking. It's an old timey, I don't know.
It's like a 50s thing.
Yeah, it was. And I had to listen to the original and then try to, match that or whatever. And it was a lot of fun. I wish I could redo it now because now if I listen to it, I'm like, oh, I could have done that so much better.
Yeah, because
but, we're
never,
we're never completely satisfied, probably.
Speaking about your voice acting skills, tell us about the WeatherTech commercial that you're a part of.
Oh my gosh. So I just got hired to do one line in a WeatherTech commercial that's supposed to play during the Super Bowl.
That's so awesome.
And I just play a granny and just advertising WeatherTech. And it was just one line. It's just one line, but I'm super pumped about it. And I hope it happens. I mean, they just emailed me today about payment. So, I'm assuming they're going forward with it, but it was pretty cool. And, there's just so many different ways to audition online. And this was just one of the casting websites that I just happened to see this. And they emailed me and said, hey, we've been using your audition in the scratch track. And everybody's just like, hey, this is the girl. Like, why are we still looking for someone else? And so they got me and did a directed session with their creative directors. And, I'm real excited about it.
Recording one line, how long did that take? I mean,
it probably took, the directed session was probably 30 minutes long.
Okay.
But they had me literally, because it was one line, they had me say it so many times, I'm not playing, putting inflection on every single word, like in a different way.
Yeah.
And then and they would have me, I had to do it. I probably read that line 50 times.
Oh boy.
If not more. Because every time they would want me to do the inflection on a different word, I would have to give them 3 takes.
Oh yeah, ABC.
And so but it probably only took like 30 minutes of my time. And so for one line, and it paid pretty well. And so I'm like, okay, 30 minutes, I'll take that.
Yeah, my first job I got by doing a scratch track. A lot of people don't know what that is. It's you're the placeholder until somebody is hired to do that job.
The template.
It was going to go to Mark Grau, who does tons of different things in the gaming realm. And the guy that I was working with that I did all that for sent it to him, and he goes, what do you need me for? He said, you got your guy doing the scratch track. That's great. So a lot of people poo-poo doing scratch tracks. You never know. Were being used for that, and then they moved it on up.
Right, so, exactly.
Sure.
You know, don't poo-poo doing a scratch track, because I got and speaking of my Georgia friend, was on Georgia PBS. It was called Growing Peanut Butter. It was all about peanuts from how they were started until it went into a jar. So he did a documentary, and I got to be the voice.
That's awesome.
That's awesome. That's my goal. That's one of my on my bucket list, is to be like a narrator for a documentary. Like,
like
for someday I want to get that.
Yeah.
I think that would be so cool.
That would be cool.
Yeah.
Maybe one day. Hey, we are up against a break. Goodness gracious, we are way over. But when we come back, we're actually going to talk about what we had signed up to talk about to begin with. And Kendra has written a book, and we will talk about that book when we come back. So hang in there.
Hey, this is Kendra Rains, and I love these two old guys. That's why I listen to the Stay Off My Lawn podcast. And you should too.
Say where, say when, say Delta. The airline with the big jets.
No wonder more and more commuters are saying Delta. Now you can take your choice of 9 conveniently timed flights daily to either Cincinnati or St. Louis. Yes, Delta Airlines has non-stop, round-the-clock flights, 9 a day, including 2 jets to each of these important cities. Fly to Cincinnati or St. Louis in the early morning for a full day's work. Plenty of return flights in the afternoon or evening at your convenience. And with every Delta flight, you get that famous Delta difference, the alert, friendly, personal service that makes you remember how pleasant long after you've forgotten how fast. For reservations to Cincinnati and St. Louis, Call Delta or see your travel agent.
Fly Delta all the way.
All right, welcome back to Stay Off My Lawn, segment 3, and we still have one of our favorite people in the world, Kendra Rains, with us today. She's going to talk about our book, or about her book, not our book. I don't write a book; I can barely read one. But she has written a book. Tell us a little bit about the genesis of this, how all this got started.
Well, the book is called Becoming Unstoned because I spent 12 years of my life smoking cannabis every single day after work to deal with anxiety and depression and things like that. I had a really tough life. And in my younger years, I would numb myself or deal with anxiety with reading heavy amounts of fiction. I mean, I would read 30 to 50 books a year just to escape into those fiction worlds. Sure. And then as I got older, I ended up doing antidepressants. And this was like back in the 90s, whenever it was very taboo to talk about depression or do anything like that. And so that's how I would numb myself. And then in my 30s, discovered cannabis and used cannabis as my choice to numb myself. And I numb myself because I had a lot of childhood trauma. I was teenage mother. I had a very controlling mother. I went through divorce, grief, life. Sure, we've all, gone through things. And a lot of people do numb themselves. They don't even realize that they're doing it, but they might do it with food, alcohol. That's the more popular one that people associate with numbing yourself. Shopping, scrolling, doom scrolling online, and things like that. And so a lot of people have numbing agents. They just might not recognize that that's what they're doing to not deal with the problems that they have in their life. And I reached a point in 2022 where I wanted to take my life. I was so low. I was the lowest I had ever been. I look back now and can clearly see that the cannabis was exasperating these feelings that I was already having, because when the government got involved and made it legal in states, they made it very strong. It's medical grade. And people that maybe partook of cannabis beforehand were dealing with maybe a 7% THC level, and this medical grade is like 22% or more. Gracious. Yet you're still ingesting it like you did this lower grade, not realizing it. And I use this as an example. If you were on pain medication, you wouldn't take a pain pill and then an hour later take another pain pill and then 30 minutes later take another one. But we do that with cannabis. You take a hit and then you take another hit and then you're still depressed, so you take another one. And then, it's the equivalent of just taking all of this really strong medication. And so it put me in a mindset that I was super depressed, could not pull myself out of it. But in a moment of clarity, what I call my higher self spoke up in my mind and said, hey, quit smoking weed. Quit it and you'll be better. And so, as you guys know, I'm known for making year-long challenges for myself. I took on a year-long challenge of walking 4 miles a day every single day for a solid year, and I accomplished it, which really taught me that I can do hard things. And if I make a commitment to myself, I'm going to follow through with it. So I decided to commit to not smoking cannabis or numbing myself with anything. Right. Not food, not television, not scrolling, definitely not cannabis, for a solid year, and to feel all of my feelings. I'm going to tell you, that was very hard, much harder than walking 4 miles a day in the snow, whatever. It was very hard, because whenever you force yourself to take a look at the feelings that are coming forward for you and you actually address them and feel the feelings, it's hard, but it was transforming for my life. And that is where my life completely transformed. And so I wrote a book called Becoming Unstoned. I don't know if you have video, but there's the picture of it. Yes. Available on Amazon, and paperback, hardcover, and ebook. And I'm working on the audiobook. But it's about my story. The first part of the book is really just my story of basically my memoir of why I needed to feel like I needed to numb. And I tell the story of getting pregnant as a teenager and what it was like to get pregnant out of wedlock in a small southern town, and all of the shame that came from that. Tough. Yeah. My controlling mother, going through a divorce, losing my parents just 6 months apart. My beloved husband has had a lot of medical issues at a very young age, from a brain tumor to open heart surgery, a quadruple bypass, to a massive stroke right in front of me just 3 months after my dad passed away. And so I just went through some stuff. And so that's basically what that story is. The year that I took off, I journaled the entire year just to kind of document that journey for myself to look back on. And after I went through that year, I shared it with a friend of mine, and she's like, hey, you have something that can help people here. Sure. And so the second part of the book is just a few of those journal entries to show the ups and downs of what it's like to feel all of your feelings and to go through the process of healing from past trauma. And then the third part of the book is all the tools that I used to feel my feelings. And it was everything from grounding to getting out in nature to therapy, talk therapy, to journaling and things like that. And so I really want my book to be an inspiration to people that they can overcome whatever has happened in their life. Nothing has to define you. I didn't have to be defined as a teenage mother. You know, and so, and that I wore that for 30 plus years. I wore that. And so really, I want the book to be inspirational. Do I think it's the greatest thing ever written? I don't. I'm being honest. I don't. I wrote it my own self. I had just a friend edit it for me, and I self-published it my own self. And so I'm not saying it's the greatest words ever, literary words ever written, but hopefully it is a story that you can read in a couple of hours, and it will give you inspiration and maybe some ideas and some tools of things that you can use to go through your own healing journey. And because, I'm 53, I wish that I had gone on this healing journey earlier. And so my encouragement is to people, don't put it off. Don't wait. Start it so that you can get as much life out of life as you can.
Yeah. And dealing with feelings is it's been very tough on a lot of the people that I know. That feelings can be very. It depends on how your personality is, and like most guys, a lot of times we kind of put it in a box and put it in the back of our head and just don't think about it anymore. And that works for some people, but I think with any kind of trauma, especially early on, you do have to develop that skill to deal with stuff. And like you said, your development was towards medicating, and that's what a lot of people do, and that's what that's how that works. But I'm curious. I have to read the book. I have not read it yet, but I am kind of curious on how you dug yourself out of that hole. It just sounds fascinating. And you're right with pot. I mean, it's just all different.
I know. Well, and I think that's something that a lot of people don't talk about.
Sure.
Don't talk about marijuana. I got to tell you, probably a lot of people that smoke pot.
Yeah, absolutely.
And they just don't tell it because it is still kind of taboo to be someone that smoked cannabis. And so I want to kind of put it out there and let people know that it's okay to talk about it. Sure. It's okay to talk about it, especially if it had a hold on you that was not healthy. And, you talked about that. You put it in the back of your head. Mm-hmm. That was actually one of the coping mechanisms that I used for 20 years was I had a room in the back of my head. Yeah. And if a thought was too hard, I would lock it up in that room and I would go through the whole scenario of locking those locks. Nope, not going to think about that. That's too hard. And I had to go through the process of undoing those locks and taking them out one at a time. And there's nothing wrong with medicating. I mean, I definitely want to put that out there.
Of course not.
Some things are too hard. Some things are too big. Some people have been through a lot harder things than teenage pregnancy and divorce and things like that. I don't want people to feel any kind of shame, like if they are numbing or taking a medication, because sometimes you need to do that. What I have found is that I needed fiction until I didn't need fiction anymore. And I needed medication. Like I'll never take an antidepressant again because it took me 2 years to wean off the last one. And I don't need that anymore. Yeah. So I'll never do that again. I won't smoke cannabis anymore because I don't need cannabis anymore. Right. I've just grown and healed myself to the point where those aren't things that I need to do anymore. But if someone is going through a healing journey, you have to take it step by step. Sure. You don't want us to rip the Band-Aid off and be like, I'm going to feel every trauma of my entire life right now. That is setting yourself up for a lot of bad. Sure, and so I would not recommend that at all. But one at a time, pulling those feelings out, pulling those experiences out that caused you trauma. But the key is to get started. The key is to say, okay, I need to work on this. This is something that's not letting me live my best life. Sure. I want to work on it. I don't want to numb it anymore because I want to live my best life. And I know that by giving up cannabis and by doing that hard work of feeling my feelings, it has allowed me to be the best version of myself. and the most authentic version of myself. And so I've been trying to find that for a long time. And so I'm thankful for the journey, as hard as it was.
You're one of the happiest people I know. So, I mean, it obviously worked. But I think a lot of people look at somebody who does numb it with whatever, and they, because they haven't gone through so much, they can go, why are they like that? And I think that there's that lack of understanding, and maybe that's what this book can kind of bring out. It's like that people can go, everybody's struggling, everybody's walking through something that you know nothing about. And you need to kind of understand that, there's things that you don't need to know. And if they're dealing with stuff, let them deal with it and help them if you can. But it's tough. Our hats are off to you.
Not easy. Everybody has their ups and downs. And we were all talking about how long we've been married earlier. And they go, wow, it must be great to have oh, let me tell you, it goes like this. Life makes its little ups and downs and things happen, and you just figure out a way to get through it and move on down the road. Life is an interesting thing. And I think we have too much of the giving out of the, everybody gets an award here. You get a ribbon and you get a ribbon, and life doesn't work that way. Not everybody gets a ribbon all the time. So learn to deal with disappointments earlier and how you went through it. And maybe it wasn't overly traumatic, but, move on and do things. And you were talking about the smoking. A lot of them now are getting the oils in a vape. In a vape, yeah. And I know somebody that almost died from all the vaping because what are you doing? Putting water in your lungs, because they were someone that would suck on a cigarette just and pull it all the way down. Well, they started doing the same thing with the vaping, trying to stop smoking. And all they did was they got pneumonia and was in a coma for like 2 months because you're sucking in all that water vapor and your lungs are going, whoa, maybe a little smoke, but what is this stuff?
A lot of that's oil too. That's some kind of vegetable oil.
It gets hung up in there. I was reading about that too.
I do want to say, I still am an advocate for cannabis when it's used correctly in the way that it should be used. Mm-hmm. Like people that are in pain, I do think that it is a natural resource for many different things. So I'm still an advocate for cannabis, but it goes back to everything in moderation. Mm-hmm. Yes. And I feel like that, I definitely wasn't using in moderation. I could not wait until I clocked out at 5 o'clock to then just go numb myself. Yeah. And, the result was 60 pounds of weight and just very unhappy lifestyle because I didn't have any kind of motivation to do anything really because I was just numbing myself all the time with cannabis. I'm still an advocate for cannabis, but it needs to be used in the right way. And if somebody's using it for anxiety and that's my point. If you're using cannabis for anxiety and depression and you're still anxious and you're still depressed, it's not working. It's not working. You need to try something else. That's not the thing. And so obviously there's something deeply rooted that needs to be addressed. And so I think that's the key takeaway here is that if you're using whatever, fill in the blank, to help your anxiety and depression and you're still anxious and depressed, that thing is not the thing. And you need to get to the roots of what's causing anxiety, what's causing depression. I don't blame cannabis for me wanting to take my life. Like you said, oh, you're the happiest person I know. Yeah. And so I feel like it's very surprising when people find out that I wanted to take my life, and so, I don't blame cannabis. I already had those thoughts. Cannabis just brought it to the surface and forced me to take a look at it. Yeah. And so,
But sometimes that can scare you when you start dealing with all that stuff. And it's like, if that's the thing that comes to mind, and maybe that's how it happened with you, is that it scared you. It was like, yeah, this, whatever I'm doing is not working. And
yes, exactly. Whenever I got to the point where I was picking dates and trying to figure out how I was going to do it, like it was the most serious I'd ever been, even though I never would want to do that. Completely sober Kendra is like, oh, I know, I love me. I love being alive. No way would I want to do that. I wasn't in the mindset where I could understand that. And, also I didn't have a lot of self-love. Another thing about this book is that, through that year-long journey is whenever I finally started liking myself, because through the intense shame that I carried as a having a child, the shame, I carried that for so long. I didn't have any kind of love for myself. And so discovering self-love and, I have to hug myself right now. Like I feel so bad for my past self and the things that I said to myself and the things that I was just so mean and cruel, and I didn't deserve that. And, now I have such a healthy self-esteem that it makes me sad for past versions of myself.
Well, going through everything you were going through too, and being the single mother or whatever you had at one point, I mean, it just seems like all that would do is just exacerbate all those feelings. It's like every time that you thought about your situation, it just kept piling on, and I could see where that would be. I've had things happen in my life in the past where I revisit and normally I don't do that, but there's about 5 or 6 things that my mind will revisit over and over and over, and how stupid I was and why I said such dumb things. Why did I act like that? And it's like, and some of it goes back to when I was a teenager, and some of it's when, more recent, but it's like, it's still, those things do get put on repeat. It's terrible.
Yep, you go, wow, I was really that stupid? Yep, you certainly were. By the way, I've started reading a little bit. I'm going to get the ebook version of it. But your husband wrote such a lovely foreword that was very, very nicely done. I enjoyed. So folks, when you get the book, don't skip the foreword, because it really has a lot of kind of what the book's about and how he walked with you through this journey. And I enjoyed that a lot.
The part that he put at the end where he said how my dad would be so proud of me. Like, I was very, very close to my dad. And, in the story, in my memoir part, I do go through that I was there when my dad took his last breath. And I'm glad, but also it was very traumatic. And I don't know if you've ever, been with a loved one whenever they passed, but, it is very difficult. And, for him to put that in there about that my dad would be proud of me, that was very touching. I told you guys earlier that in the audiobook version, I'm going to have my husband read that part, because I tried to do the foreword and I couldn't. I mean, I'm just like bawling the whole time. I'm like, okay, well, this is not going to work. And so I'm going to have him read the foreword for it, because it was, but thank you. I will tell him that you said that and he will appreciate it.
It was really nicely done. It was very touching. So I can imagine having something like that said about you and then trying to read it. Yeah. I did a silly little, how I came to believe in Santa for a lifetime. And it reminds me so much of my own grandmother from a story that my wife found and said, here, you really should record this. That by the time I got to the end of it, I was having a tough time trying to get done with it without falling apart.
Yeah.
So
I
understand
definitely
what you're saying.
Yeah, I'm definitely going through that. I told you guys I'm just about 3 chapters in of recording the audio version. And I mean, there's just it's bringing up a lot of emotions for me, just kind of reliving that part of my life and stuff. And so I'm finding it more difficult than I think I thought. And I'm a professional voice actor, but I'm like, I'm not acting. This is really me. And this is really my story.
When the feels hit, you can't stop them.
Yeah. Once I open the door for feelings, it's like nonstop now. Oh yeah, she's okay with feeling us now. Let it happen.
But you do feel like you should be above all that, but you can't. I mean, especially when it's you. I can't even imagine. My son bought my wife and I a book that we have to fill out. It's called Dad, I Want to Hear Your Story, and Mom, I Want to Hear Your Story. And a lot of the things that I was going through, it's like it brought back memories that I hadn't thought about in decades. Things that happened at high school and things that happened in my first job and different things like that. It's like, and that can be, and I'm not an emotional guy. Now, I'll be emotional if I'm watching a movie and a dog dies. That will start the tears flowing with me. If a person dies, they probably deserved it, whatever. But I mean, but if a dog gets run over by a bus or something, it's like, oh, I gotta go out in the kitchen.
Yes. I totally get it.
So it's like going through some of that. It's like, and I was nowhere near as traumatic as some people as far as the stuff I went through in my life. But it's like going through some of that. It's like that can make you tear up. I totally get it. I totally get it.
Well, I appreciate you guys having me on to talk about a book about feelings too, because I know that, that's maybe not, completely
not the manliest thing. Yeah.
Understanding our wheelhouse. And, your female listeners will probably get this more of how, as women, we do, compress so much and we do carry so much. And, there is a lot that is expected of us. There's a lot of beauty standards that are put on us. And, I know you guys have your own stuff for sure. And I've witnessed that through having 3 sons and, my husband, I know really tears aren't allowed Mostly. For men and stuff. And so, you think that feeling your feelings is just about crying, but it's really a lot more than just crying. It's like you talked about those thoughts that are on repeat in your mind. It's forgiving yourself and finally letting it go. And that's not just a one-time thing. You can say, oh, you know what? I was young, whatever. I'm going to let that go. But that doesn't mean that thought's not going to come back again. And so the process of forgiving yourself involves hundreds of times of letting something go until it finally doesn't come up anymore. Yeah. And I use something where I put it in a balloon and then I imagine the balloon floating off. And that's my good. Letting go. Whenever something's really bothering me, I can't seem to get it out of my head. I put it in the balloon in my mind and I let it go. And sometimes I have to do that 100 times a day, but eventually I don't have to do that anymore. And that's whenever I know I have finally let it go.
I like that. But yeah, because it's something practical. You can think about it. It's going away.
Yes.
I like that a lot. So where can everybody buy your book? Is there a specific website or is it just on the booksellers?
Yeah, so it's on Amazon. I have it in, it's ebook, hardcover, and paperback. This is the paperback. And then I'm working on the audio version. It's also in my TikTok shop. I don't know if anyone, TikTok's back for now. We'll see what's going on with that. And so it is on TikTok in my TikTok shop, Kendra on the Radio, which is my TikTok handle. And so I just did a TikTok about Yellowstone. It was I did it several years ago, but it made me think about you saying you couldn't see a dog die because everyone's like, hey, have you seen Yellowstone? I'm like, no, I haven't watched it. So I finally started, and I don't know if you've seen Yellowstone, but the very first episode is him killing a horse. And I mean, like the first 5 minutes, and I'm like, I'm out. I'm not watching this. He killed a horse in the first 5 minutes. I'm out.
Yeah, just can't watch it. I totally
never.
Understand.
No, I don't want to see anything where an animal died. I'm like you. Oh, a human, you probably deserved it, but an animal, no way, dude. No way. Turn the channel.
I mean, even if they just had really terrible breath, they probably need to get shot. So, I mean, yeah, totally.
Their thought process caused it anyway.
That's so funny.
So if anybody's interested in your voiceover work or what you do for the radio stations and everything, where you have a website for that, correct?
I do. It's KendraRains.com, which is KendraRains. KendraRains.com.
Fantastic.
And they can join my newsletter there. I don't really have a newsletter going out yet. I'm still compiling email addresses, but if you ever want an update on what I'm doing, then that would be the place.
Awesome. Hey, if you ever need anything from us, recorded, whatever, if you need anything, you just let us know. We definitely
are
here for
happy
you.
to help out.
We
appreciate you a bunch.
Yeah, we
thanks for having me on again. I appreciate it. I love hanging out with you guys. I appreciate it.
We appreciate you coming on. The book is called Becoming Unstoned, A Journey of Unnumbing. Look it up wherever you can find books, and we will have Kendra on again. Once you get the audiobook done, let's make a date. So.
Okay.
Guests on the Stay Off My Lawn podcast stay at the luxurious Motel 6, right off I-75 on Highway 20.
Hi, Grandma. Can Nina come over for dinner?
Sure. I've been meaning to ask you, what would happen if someone offered you a drink?
Grandma?
If anyone ever does, I want you to say, no, I have too much respect for my family and I don't want to get in trouble.
I promise, Grandma.
They really do hear you. For tips on what to say, visit underagedrinking.samhsa.gov. That's underagedrinking.samhsa.gov. This message brought to you by SAMHSA and this station.
Hi, welcome back to Stay Off My Lawn, segment 4. And man, I'm just it just makes my heart glad to have Kendra on. I love having her on. She's a joy to talk to. So
and so inspirational that some people go, well, I let myself down and let myself go, and this is just the way I'm going to be now. She went, you know what? I don't want to be like this anymore. And sometimes you have to make that decision and help out. And her husband had his own health scare that was really bad there for a while, and I think that kind of brought her out of things, and she decided I'm gonna make it.
Maybe so.
It's just really inspirational.
She did.
I truly enjoy her.
She somehow had that epiphany and pulled herself. I mean, I have such respect for somebody that can pull themselves out of a funk that they're in, and her funk was probably not a whole lot different than other people. You know, it's like people use different coping mechanisms to get past certain things in their life, and she certainly has had a much harder time with things than I have in my life. So I mean, who am I to stand back and say, you know, you did it wrong? She worked through it, and man, she is just so much better today. She is one of the happiest people I know, and she was actually surprised when I said that. So, but anyway, it's wonderful. I'm just
and we got a wonderful compliment from. I just love hanging out with you guys. So it's like, okay, wow, and we have somebody else in the booth where we can just ask a question and sit back.
Yeah,
we don't have to talk.
She either has set her bar very low about people that she likes to hang around with. Either that, or we are actually much more entertaining than some of our emails suggest. But anyway,
or she's still totally delusional.
Oh,
I mean, something's not right there.
That could be. She might have hit her head on something. We don't know.
What did Steve give her when she was in the green room?
I don't know, but she was she didn't even complain about him, which normally his breath makes people complain. But she's just
he was on his best behavior today, so that was very nice of him.
Maybe he took a Tic Tac or something, and it all worked out. Brandon Johnson, if you don't know who that is, he was the mayor of Chicago. He faced some pushback by Chicago citizens at a recent city council meeting. This goes on for a couple of minutes, so you're going to have to hear all of this. It's very interesting.
You all stood up there and said you will not allow Trump to come in here and get these illegals. Yeah, you can smile. We're in $1 billion deficit. And you spent half of our money, half of that on illegals. You campaigned and doubled down that you would not raise property taxes.
I won't raise your property taxes.
You wanted to raise our taxes $300 million. They shut it down. Now we back here for $150 million. Okay. See, this is what we asking now. Since you want to crash out, some of y'all say y'all willing to go to jail for it. Trump, Tom Homan, make an example out this right here first. Please come here first. Spend our tax dollars to go. Michael Rodriguez, you said to take Trump to court to protect these illegals. That's cool because we about to make all of y'all aldermen famous. Y'all think this is how it's gonna ride? I think not. Flip Chicago red. We not playing.
This was gonna happen to you. You got Kash Patel and Pam Bundy that you're gonna have to deal with sooner than later. Then it's going to be an audit. Next, it's going to be an investigation. Then it's going to be an indictment. Conviction. That's what's going to happen to you.
Mr. Brandon Johnson, I'm up here. I am speaking right now, so I would love your undivided attention, please. I'll wait.
He was very distracted at this point. It's terrible.
So this just proves to you the lack of leadership that you show in this city. You can't even give me straight eye contact. Now, I'm gonna let you know now, the people of Chicago, we're done with you. It is insane how we have been voting Democrat for over 60 plus years, and we've never seen a change from people like you, Lori Lightfoot, Robbie Manuel. It is insane. Chicago was 37% red. In 2020, it was only 15%. So we're waking up. So you can pretend that this isn't happening, but I know for a fact that you will not have that seat the next election.
You so strong about protecting those aliens, but you won't do nothing for the U.S. citizens. I got a great way how we can what we can do with this budget. First, let's start with cutting off illegals, getting free everything. Free housing, free schooling, free food. Yeah, let's start with that. That'll save us a lot of money. What, $600 million? Let's start there. Then let's start with your salary. You are going down in history as the worst mayor in America. Let's start with cutting yours. You making too much money. Let's start there. You Democrats, and remember you told us to defund the police? Remember, you ran on that. Remember, you was to defund the police? Let's start with that. Let's defund the police detail that you have.
That's not the defund the police that he was thinking of. But man, these people are fired up. I love it.
Oh, and I liked how he was smiling at that first lady. She came with facts and figures and numbers, and his smile went boom. It just dropped. She wasn't just up there chewing on him. She knew what was going on and how much the budget was and how things were screwed up. So I'd say kudos to her. The wife, that's why I said I was listening to it, and the wife was in her chair playing a game on her phone or something, and she just looked up and went, "Good for her."
Yeah.
Who was that?
I love it. I love it. She's probably pretty famous in her neighborhood right now. So, I mean, and that one guy dropped a fact about that was only 15% red in 2020 and it went to 37, he said. So, I mean, that's more than double. I mean, my math doesn't math a lot.
But carry the one divided by minus the coefficient of Yeah, that's right. That is. It's more than doubled. Yeah. So, I'm surprised. Good job on the math.
Thank you.
I had to get out the calculator.
I had to take my socks off to count on toes. But yes, I mean, I think people are waking up. I mean, Democrats across the country that have always voted Democrat are stopping and going, you know what have you done for me lately? Nothing. And it's not like and I've said this before, and I talked to a friend of mine about this the other day. It's like when you lock your door at night, it's not because you hate the people outside. It's because you love the people inside. And that's what goes on at the border. We need to shut that door because we love our American citizens and we want to keep them safe and we want to keep them because it's ruining unemployment, the labor force participation rate. There's been a lot of things that have been affected that a lot of people that have regular jobs or whatever are not seeing. But there's a lot of people that have just fallen off the rolls that aren't working anymore.
Yep.
So
they just up and said, yeah, not going to happen. And a lot of that, which I think I've mentioned in the past, is families, and you got a wife working, and with all these minimum wage things that just keep going up, you can't afford to put, if you have 2, maybe even 3 kids going into daycare, it takes more than what you make. I was talking to a gal the other day, and she said, I just quit working. I'm staying home. I'm going to homeschool the kids, and it's costing us $200 to do that. That's it.
Yeah.
Because my entire paycheck was going almost entirely to daycare.
Yeah.
And they just went, it's not going to happen. We just can't afford to do it. So they're leaving the roles. They're not on unemployment. They just are not working.
And you get to raise your own kids. Which,
and I think they're starting to enjoy that more.
I think so too.
I know that my oldest daughter and son-in-law, that's been a very big thing with them. My daughter is a CPA, but she has been home with the kids this year. She's president of the PTA because they asked her to be. She said, I wasn't going to, but they really insisted. So she's good at organizing. She's very good at all that stuff, but she has been home to raise her kids and not have somebody else raise them.
Yep.
So,
and that's the thing. It's the only way you can make sure that they're being instilled with the values that are valuable to you and your husband or wife. So I think that my kids are doing, or my son and daughter-in-law are thinking the same way with our granddaughters. So I think that's a positive thing. Yeah, you might have to do without maybe here and there, but I mean, and
a little sacrificing. We were never ones that the wife tried to stay home with ours as long as possible. And when she did work, it was in a school setting. So the time she had off and when they were home, it was pretty close to the same time.
My wife worked at the elementary school. My son went to elementary school. So it was like, it was nice that she was right there and she was able to work through all that. And, I mean, prior to school, she was home. So, I mean, I don't know.
Yeah, you make sacrifices, but they don't feel like sacrifices now that they're gone and they're raised up. And my 2 grandsons are just 2 of the nicest kids you'd ever want to be around.
And that does make a difference.
Just a hoot.
Yep,
yeah,
absolutely. Well, anyway, we need a palate cleanser, and we need to cut this short, I guess, because we did go on and
it's
on.
not going to be. I'm just telling you right now.
Yeah, there's no short about any of this. So we have our Paul Harvey rest of the story, and appropriately enough, it's about overcoming obstacles.
The rest of the story. When Bob looked up, saw his employer headed straight toward him, Bob knew it meant trouble. He knew he was to be fired. His restaurant job had been too good to be true from the start. For 7 years prior to landing it, prospective employers had been cutting interviews short, slamming doors in his face. But The restaurant manager at Nordstrom's had overlooked Bob's handicap and had hired him as a busboy and had promoted him to dishwasher and eventually to food preparer and even to cashier. Working in the restaurant had not always been easy. There was constant embarrassment. Bob often overheard customers make disparaging remarks relating to his problem, but he had been so grateful for the job that Bob now hated with all of his heart the thought of losing it. His employer looked him in the eye and said, "Maybe you've guessed what I wanted to discuss with you," and Bob indeed agreed he had, but he had guessed wrong. He guessed wrong. Bob was being offered another promotion, this time a position in one of the company's corporate offices. But wait a minute, there's a catch. Bob's handicap had been tolerable in the past capacities, but at the corporate level it would be utterly unacceptable. Something would have to be done about it. Bob must seek professional help. He must somehow overcome his stuttering. For it was a solitary yet significant speech impediment, an incessant slip of the tongue that had discouraged prospective employers in the past, that had made any responsibility requiring communication all but unfulfillable. Now it was going to be different, because it had to be. It just had to be. Bob wanted more out of life and a career, and the only way he was ever going to get it would be to correct the lifelong stuttering, the lifelong stammer, which had been holding him back. Bob had never dreamed of having a corporate job, but now one was being handed to him, so the choice was his. Yet the price of success was also his to pay. The Nordstrom company was even offering to finance Bob's speech therapy. But he must accept the challenge. He must make the effort all by himself. Well, he did. A patient and talented therapist was located. Together, the two launched an attack on Bob's speech impediment. It took 18 months, but by the end of that time, Bob had almost completely conquered the stuttering that had plagued him for more than 40 years. And as promised, Bob was then promoted to the position he holds today, Corporate Health and Sanitation Director for all of Nordstrom's 45 restaurants. But Bob's is more than a success story. It is it's a successes story. For this recent triumph, of which you have just learned, is Bob's second climb to the top. You see, sports enthusiasts know Bob Love, fourth-round draft choice out of Southern University into the NBA in 1966, scoring leader for 7 consecutive seasons of his 9 with the Chicago Bulls, all-offensive team, all-defensive team, 4-star NBA All-Star. Basketball buffs know well this superlative athlete. But now you've met the other Bob Love, for whom there was no life after basketball because of a slip of the tongue. Until, with the same courage he demonstrated in his athletic career, he triumphed over that obstacle also. Now you know the rest of the story.
You got to love that kind of thing. Oh,
I love that. You know, that goes so well with the Kendra deal.
Yeah.
There's lots of people that just don't give up on life, folks. It's if you want something, figure out a way to make it happen for you.
Sure.
So,
and walking through tough times, kind of, it not only toughens you up for the next time, because we all do it. We all have to go through hard times. And this is my Dr. Phil moment, I guess. But I mean, it's like you just need to, accept what's in front of you and learn to power through it and figure out a way to strengthen yourself or just get better. And that's exactly what this Bob Love did. It's what Kendra did. She figured out, and she's got advice for other people to get through the whole thing. That's what the book is about too. So I
did buy it, and I'm trying to read that on Kindle. I may get more of it read while I'm waiting for the wife's surgery tomorrow.
Oh, there you go. There you go. Yeah. If you're praying people, then we would appreciate your prayers for Richard's wife. She's having a total knee replacement tomorrow. So it's
number 2.
Number 2.
She had 1. And this is number 2. She's the bionic woman. She's going to be able to run faster and leap higher. Oh, wait, that's only if you have PF flyers. Oh, that's an old shoe. So
that's an old shoe. Yeah. But, she's not going to have any more. So, she's got only 2 knees.
Let's see. There's one, and then, but yeah, that's all. She can't have any more.
Yeah, it's good. But she's got a great surgeon and a great attitude. And so, like I said, if you would throw up a prayer to our Heavenly Father for her to come through that very well, that would be fantastic. So we hope you were somewhat informed and had fun like we did. Don't forget, you can find us on iTunes, Spotify, iHeart, Amazon Smart Speaker, or wherever you get your podcasts.
And you'll find us every Thursday at 5 p.m. Eastern Time on the OracleTalkRadioNetwork.com. Enjoy us on the drive home. You can get the apps from Apple and Android. They are available. Or you can just go to our good old website, StayOffMyLawn.us, for all our past and present episodes.
So we'll see you next week, folks.
Toodles, thanks again so much for listening. Well, we had fun and hope you did too. The opinions heard here today are not those of anyone other than Mike and Richard. If it made you laugh or go, or even, then we've done our job. Sort of. Well, mostly anyway. And if we made you think about things in a common sense manner, we welcome you to the club. And if it didn't, then just stay off my lawn. See you next time.